this a good firing for Caleb or not?
Let's start off by saying no firing is really a good firing, but it's a good thing that they're moving on from the offensive coordinator.
Why?
The reason, because you could see it from day one. It just wasn't, you could just tell. Now, as I said to you guys before, I never felt great about the situation once I got a full look at it. I thought that this team would be good based on the roster and the players that they went out and got via trade, free agency, draft, all that. So I'm like, okay, cool. They're going to be all right. This quarterback, all he has to do is be Mark Sanchez of the New York Jets. What I mean by that is don't screw it up. They got a good defense that ended on a great note. They got some skill position players that can help them. They got DeAndre Swift that's solid. Don't screw it up as a young quarterback. That's what I thought. But then when you start looking at Shane Waldron and you start thinking about it and looking at it and saying, well, this ain't going. So it's the right situation for him. Now let's see what happens moving forward.
What do you think, Michael? Was this a good firing?
Well, he said it's never a good firing, and I know he meant to say that it's never a good thing to be happy about a man getting fired, but there are some good firings. There are some good firings. And unfortunately, this may be one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, you don't want to talk about a man losing his job and having to uproot his family. But with what they're trying to accomplish, and that's growth for this young man and teaching him the game and what you've seen, yeah. I talked about it yesterday. We're trying to work the ball up the field, 20-plus air yards. We're throwing this at a high rate, but we have the lowest completion percentage. Then that means let's change something. Let's stop putting this kid back there so long holding the ball. Let's stop running him around. Let's teach him the basics of the game. And then you add all of that spectacular stuff we saw at school to that. So now what you have to do is go get somebody to teach him the base. Now, Thomas Brown is taking over. The one thing I said about this, about Coach, and Key, you were just reading off where he's from. Go ahead and share some of that stuff you were talking about.
Well, he started out in college at Georgia in 2011 as strength and conditioning coach. Last year, he was the coordinator of the Carolina Panthers. Last year, he was the coordinator of the Carolina Panthers, which means they moved on from him. Right. He got hired by Chicago.
So, ironically, he's the reason why Caleb Williams is in Chicago?
No. He was the Carolina offensive
but what she's saying, she's saying the same thing.
We said the same thing. We said the same thing. You just said they were so bad, Chicago was able to get that #1 pick.
Correct.
Got you.
Right.
I got you.
We got a job. But people got to have to understand, there's a lot that goes on into being an offensive coordinator. Now, what I'm thinking about here is if Coach is having a great relationship with Caleb Williams, as he's spending a lot of time with Caleb Williams, and then they move on to him, the best part of this is what kind of relationship. Okay, now maybe he has someone he's working closely with, that'll incorporate things and teach him how to play the game short, too long.
Because he was a passing game coordinator. He had the title as a passing game coordinator.
So they should have a lot of time together.
So he should, was what he's saying, should have a lot of time together. And sometimes coordinators or assistant coaches, you see take over, they start doing things that the other coordinators wouldn't do.
Right.
Because they just wouldn't listen to them. They wouldn't do it. You know, it was a threatening situation. So maybe Thomas Brown will be different, is what Mike is saying.
Or that system. Let me show you. Because I remember when I first got to Dallas, we had David Schuler. And David Schuler said to Jimmy, when I got my knee hurt, he went to Jimmy and said, I don't know if Michael can run again. And he wanted to make a trade. He wanted to trade. Jimmy said, no, I'm not trading. I'm not getting rid of Michael. I'm going to bring in a new offensive coordinator.
Hates David Schuler.
No, I don't hate him. I don't hate him. I appreciate him. I went and got 3 Super Bowls without him. I appreciate him. But when I got Norv in, one of the things, the first thing Norv did, because Norv knew about this, Norv took me out and said, let's go out. We went out in March, and we went running. This is the first time we saw, he said, let's run some 8 routes and some 5s and 4s. That's why I love him. And then the first thing, we were walking off the field. Norv already knew about what happened. Norv turns to me and says, hey, I don't know what that joker was talking about, man. We're plenty fast enough. We're going to eat him up this year. You see, you got to understand what a player does best to incorporate it in an offense. You have to listen. Sometimes some guys, even though, like he said, they just got fired, they're still stuck in their ways. Stuck in their ways. I saw this kid the other day in that game look like he was done with this coach, with Waldron. It was like, remember when I told you guys that time that Amari Cooper was done? When he looked back, he said, I'm not even going for that ball. He looked like that in the game the other day. He just looked like none of this junk works. So it was right to move on from that man and to try to give him some new assistance in this game.
So that's the scapegoat right there. Offensive coordinator.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because, you're absolutely right, Paul.
I mean, somebody got to be the scapegoat.
And that's exactly what they're talking about in the locker room. That chump been holding us back.
When your number one pick is not performing at a level when you see these other quarterbacks playing well, like a Bo Nix, like a Jaden Daniels.
Like a Drake May.
Like a Drake. When you somebody got to be the scapegoat. I'll tell you that. Now, does Caleb get better? Now you have a different offensive coordinator?
We'll see.
Who knows?
We'll see.
Who knows? But I think somebody has to take the fall for this. And so I think there's a learning curve when you're trying to adjust to the NFL. Some pick it up a little faster than others. Obviously, Caleb is having his struggles. But I just don't see it getting any better for the rest of the year. They're going to have to implement something new on the fly in the middle of the season. Is that going to help them? I mean, just a small sample size for the rest of the season?
What they won't do, Paul, is what they don't do is they don't change the system.
Exactly.
Right.
But the person who's calling it, call it different.
Understand what
that's
you
all.
call it.
They ain't going to change the system.
Exactly. But what does that have to do with the offensive line now?
Well,
How
you
does
can-
he get sacked 9
Well,
times?
but you can change- when you change
Let me
it-
tell you. When I told you guys about yesterday when DeAndre Swift in that 3-game win streak, he was 13 for 13. All those nice quick check downs. That's how it changes. That's how it helps the offensive line.
Yeah.
We're relying too much on his physical gifts. And that's a great thing for him to have, but it's not what he should be relying on right
keep
now.
Developing that.
Right, and he has to teach him the quick game. That's how you help those linemen. You get the ball out your hands in 2 seconds, and so those guys get tired, and the hits don't hurt as much later on. Instead of taking those 9 sacks like he took yesterday.
You can't hold the ball for 5-6 seconds either.
No, but if I got a quick game, your ball coming out right now.
Right now.
Right away.
But what's the quick game require? It requires you understanding defenses and being able to get the ball out of your hands even before the ball is snapped. I know where I'm going. It's a pre-snap read.
But
That's the thing that he has
This is
to
stuff
learn.
that we all see. Why can't the offensive coordinator see that?
Man, we would eat up the rest of the show trying to explain this to you. Trust me.
But there's one thing, though,
It's hard to explain.
I see that. Like,
There's one thing that Matt Eberflus said, and he said, talk about Coach Brown. He said he's a good coach, and he always take a collaborative approach. Now, when I start hearing words like that, that's like shooting a dart at the guy that's leaving. You know what I mean? He always takes a collaborative approach. Like everybody gets to have say in the offense, and maybe the other guy did not. That's how I extrapolate.
Does things change for him now, you think, moving forward?
Always the best coordinators I ever had was when we collabed together.
When everybody felt
Not
like
the
they got
guy
something.
who goes in his office and he got the little window and he closed the little thing and shuts the door and won't talk to anybody till it's time for team install.
So he delivers his game plan.
Yeah.
That ain't our game plan. That's your game plan.
He doesn't look comfortable.
I need to see my plays in this plan. Let me see the plays I got.
To me, this is a twofold problem. One, they are victims of unrealistic expectations.
This is true.
And they are victims of trying to lean too much into what Caleb Williams does great. Whenever anyone has some special, specific type of talent in college, you want to tap into that. The problem is everybody else in the NFL also has a specific type of talent that they're tapping into, like on the defensive side of the ball. They're not college players coming after you. They're not the same guys who are now using their degree to pay their bills. These are professional athletes. These are men with mortgages. These are men who have been in the league for multiple years, who have had professional level training and weights. You know, they're not in Planet Fitness swinging the cables in front of their faces. Okay,
like me.
These are real men who are fast. You can't hold on to the ball that long, so you can't lean too much into the spectacular thing that he does in the NFL. You have to teach him when to tap into that, and they're trying to lean 100% into that. I'm sorry, there was one more thing. Stop using Patrick Mahomes as a comp.
Okay,
we stop doing that.
No, I don't do that.
Well, we did that. And that adds an extra level of expectations, of pressure. He's already the #1 overall pick. He's already coming in with wild expectations. He's already going to be compared to his peers. He's already going to be compared to C.J. Stroud from next year. And when it doesn't move as quickly as everyone expected it to because the expectations were unrealistic, now people are getting fired, which maybe they should be. But also his development is being delayed because now he has, whatever it is, he has a different offensive coordinator now. And then we can get to the next layer of this, which is he might have different people at the top altogether because they fired Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, but they did keep head coach Matt Eberflus. So, Michael, did the right coach get fired?
Yes. I know we said a lot about hate saying yes, but yes, definitely. Yes, the right coach. Because first of all, the defense hasn't played horrifically, and they've held them in games. And this was an offensive issue. And as I said, when Coach said a more collective, collaborative approach, that told me something. So he wants this offense to collaborate more. Let me tell you something. I'm push back a little bit on something you said, Joy, when you said, let's stop using Patrick Mahomes as a comp. And I concur with that conclusion at this level. But I do want Coach Brown to use Patrick Mahomes as a comp when he's talking to the kid, because he can talk about how Patrick Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and he played up the field with the football. But now that he doesn't have Tyreek Hill, he plays small ball. So it doesn't mean he's no longer Patrick Mahomes. He's still Patrick Mahomes. We need you to learn this side of Patrick Mahomes and stop playing just that side. That's where I would use him as a comp.
Well, yeah, the coaching of Patrick Mahomes has been spectacular.
But you can show him that it's possible.
Right.
That I know you'll think you're a gunslinger, but Patrick Mahomes is too. But he's playing the game, the short game, and that's what really has him playing his long game. And that's what he has.
And sometimes you have to just take what the defense gives you.
That's what he does.
And mold your game to what's happening in the present moments. You always know that you have these skills to tap into. And when we need a spectacular play, go do that because you're capable of doing that. But that can't be every single play.
Right. But it's hard. It's easy for us to say because we're sitting up here on this desk. But when you're the first pick in the draft and you're coming down, you're like Moses right now to this. Chicago haven't had a big-time quarterback since forever. So, you know, there's a lot of pressure, and we said, we need you to play small ball, just dump the ball off here and there. And he's like, no, I need to show you what I can do.
Together to dump the ball. You don't get Keenan Allen more. You don't put these guys together.
No, they put those pieces together to win.
And you're not going to dump it all day.
It doesn't matter what it looks like. They're not even doing the bare minimum part.
But it works in cycles.
As I said a month or so ago, I can literally walk into Chicago right now, and I ain't never called a play in the National Football League with a headset. I've called plays.
And call a better game.
And I swear I could call a better game because I know what to do with him. You talk about the comp, right? You talk about the comp. That's okay for the comp because it's off-schedule plays what Patrick Mahomes is being compared to. The National Football League, though, is different, like you said, than college. They're not going to let you keep doing the off-schedule plays. So what you have to do as an offensive coordinator is you got to rein him in. And you got to keep it at a bare minimum. You don't need to open up the playbook. He's not ready for that yet. When you're doing those sort of things, you're setting him up for failure. Young quarterbacks, as I always say, you got to be in the right surroundings and environment, in the right situation with the right head coaches that know what the hell they're doing. If you look at any of these air raid quarterbacks, all the way from Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, okay, to Jalen Hurts, to Kyler Murray, it took them a year or two for these coaches to really understand.
Starting to play pretty well now.
They get it, they understand it, but they're not allowing them to do that air raid shotgun every 30 plays stuff.
It looks a certain way. It looks a certain way when these other rookie quarterbacks are doing it.
Everyone has a different type of system. They have different personnel. They have different skills. They have different coaches.
But listening to them,
all the coaches is good.
They said this, and Chris and I was talking about this, the producer. He was talking about this because I was in here last weekend, at the end of the week when you guys talked about it. That DJ Moore and these guys were saying they didn't get any time together or they're not on the same page. How in the hell is the #1 quarterback and your #1 receiver not on the same page? You mean tell me you guys haven't been working out since March? But you knew they were going to draft him. They knew they were going to draft him.
Yep.
That's when Keenan Allen went to visit all of his
Well, when you're on the Chitlin
workouts.
circuit, when you're a
y'all
Heisman Trophy
I would
guy,
have went
you know
right
how that
into the
go.
workouts.
But you know how they go. He the Heisman Trophy guy,
Yeah,
the number
yeah.
one guy. He
Yeah.
on the Chitlin circuit. He
Yeah,
going all
yeah.
the way around. He
Now,
doing,
that might
you
have
know,
been true.
he hanging out
you
at
know what,
the,
Key? You're absolutely right.
Come on
I didn't
now.
think about that side
on
of
the Chitlin
it
circuit.
because I was mind blown and said we didn't get enough work in. There's no way you should not have gotten enough work in,
Yeah.
and the coach should have seen that before we got to this stage.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.